then we can get started. So I truly appreciate everyone being here. And what I would like us to do first is we're gonna go around the room. We're gonna do quick introductions. If you'll give us your names, your organization you're representing, or your military affiliation, or both. And then we'll just move on, and then we'll go online and do the same thing online. So we're gonna start right over here and we'll kind of zigzag through the room.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Karla Jackson. I am a Navy veteran and I am with Wake County Veteran Services as the Veteran Services Supervisor.
Hey everyone, I'm Dan McHugh. I am the Director of Development at Habitat for Humanity, Wake County. I'm not a veteran, but my aunt and uncle are, so that's my connection. So I'm happy to run the Veterans Build program at Habitat Wake.
I'm Brelyn Bowen. I'm the Senior Team Lead of Volunteers of America SSBI program, out of the Durham office, soon to be Raleigh office as well. Not a veteran either.
My name is Landry Young. I am the Marketing Outreach Manager here at the Joel Fund.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Morgan Manford. I'm the Director of Housing Affordability and Community Revitalization at Wake County. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Darlette McCormick. I'm here representing the Personal Financial Counseling Program. I am a DoD resource to help active duty veterans with their financial management. I'm also the spouse of a veteran, so I definitely have that in common as well. And I am a housing professional. I'm a licensed real estate agent, so I'm interested in all of these things. I'm glad to be here.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jimmy Clayton. I am an Army veteran. I work for Wake County government as a Veteran Services Social Worker.
Welcome to the group. He's new, so let's show him what we do.
I'm new as well. My name is Lindsay Atkins, United States Marine Corps veteran, Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I'm the Supervisor of Veteran Service Officer in Durham County, the Durham County Veteran Services.
Oh, welcome. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you very much.
I'm Gabriela Gonzalez. I'm with Division of Workforce Solutions, Department of Commerce. We're handling the Jobs for Veterans State Grant. We have veteran representatives throughout North Carolina in the NC Works Career Centers, and I'm an Army veteran.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Chris Hill, Navy veteran, Senior Case Manager at the Veterans Life Center over in Butner.
I'm Greg Gebhardt. I'm the Executive Director of Military Missions in Action, a North Carolina founded and focused veterans nonprofit. And I am a Army veteran still serving in the National Guard as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Janine Hill. I am the SSBF Program Director of Volunteers of America.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Paul Berry, Marine Corps veteran and with Veterans Bridge Home.
Good afternoon, everybody. Tony Burt, Marine Corps veteran, Market Community Coordinator with Veterans Bridge Home.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Bryant, Marine Corps veteran as well. I'm here to listen and learn.
My name is Michael Martin. I am on the board for the Joel Fund, also in the housing sector as well. I'm a mortgage lender. I've been for over 20 years. Super excited to learn more about you guys for today.
Hey everyone, Andrea Allard, North Carolina Department of Military and Veteran Affairs, Transition Services Director, do housing, homelessness, suicide prevention, wrap it all up in one, and that is me.
Awesome.
Hey, I'm Isabella Brzezinski. I'm the Operation Art Program Manager for the Joel Fund. I'm the daughter of an Army veteran, and welcome to the Operation Art Studio.
Thank you for letting us use it today as well.
Of course.
Do we miss anyone in person? We'll go online. Okay. Sam and Brenda Vervaker.
Okay. Sam is sitting over there. He's minus a gallbladder as of Thursday. Sam was a Navy corpsman. I was a Navy nurse, and we're here today representing Vietnam Veterans of America.
Thank you. Happy healing to Sam. David Williams.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm David Williams. I'm an Army veteran myself, and I represent Hired Heroes USA. I'm the homeless program manager.
Welcome. Now, the next person, it says WMCAR.
Good afternoon. My name is Wanda McArn, McArn, and I'm the founder and CEO of Next Step Development Corporation. We are a tiny home developer, and our goal is to have our first community for veterans. I am not a veteran, but I have a number of them in my family, so this is important to me.
Thanks, Wanda. Appreciate you joining us. She's one of our panelists, so I should have known who that was. I'm very sorry. Karen, you're next.
Hi, I'm Karen Satulo. I'm the Assistant Director at the Stephen Cohen Military Family Clinic at Centerstone over here in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Thank you. Pastor Denise Bryant.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Denise Bryant, and I am the founder and CEO of Spiritual Awakening Ministries. We are building affordable housing for homeless veterans in the Pitt County area. So we're excited about serving. My husband is on the line. I believe he'll be able to introduce himself, and he is a retired Army veteran. So I'm a spouse as well.
Thank you for joining us. Allie?
Hi, everyone. I'm Allie Anderson. I'm the Community Care Manager here at the Joel Fund. And I am an active duty spouse as well as the daughter of 2 Air Force veterans. So
thank you. Hi, Jasmine. Will you introduce yourself?
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Jasmine Hockaday. I am the housing specialist for the Durham VA homeless program. And so I am glad to be here.
Thank you. Next we have Atkin. It says D Atkin. Oh, it's DJ. Thank you. Hi, DJ.
Thank you.
You guys got to change your names on these things. Just kidding. Will you introduce yourself, please?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is DeKevius, or DJ Atkinson. I am the HUDVASH coordinator with the Durham VA healthcare system. I've been with the VA for 11 years. I've been with HUDVASH specifically for 9.5 years, and been serving as coordinator for, it'll be 2 years in March. So I work with case managers in the entire catchment area, from as far west as Alamance County to as far east as Greenville and Craven County. So good to be on board.
Thank you. Ricky?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ricky Bryant, Sergeant First Class retired U.S. Army. And like my wife said before, we're looking to support homeless veterans, get them into single-family homes, as well as some multifamily units. And it's a pleasure to be on board with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Randy?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Randy Silver with NC Works Career Center. I provide employment resources for veterans in Johnston and Wilson counties.
Thanks, Randy. Troy?
Hello, everybody. I'm Troy Hirschberger. I work with the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency as their community and veteran liaison.
Thanks, Troy. Caroline?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Caroline Numbers. I am not a veteran, but I do have a number of family members and friends who are. So much respect to all of you that are veterans or family members of veterans. I'm a realtor in the Triangle area, and one of my specialties is helping veterans and their families find housing. So happy to be here and excited for this information session.
Thank you. And next, okay, I don't know who we have next. Someone VA. Who am I? It says R. McDan or McDan R. Yes.
Hey, hi, this is Ron McDaniel. I'm the Network Homeless Coordinator for Vision 6. Thank you for the invite. Met you the other day, so I just definitely want to jump on. I'm a retired combat Army veteran. I'm a father of an Army veteran that's about to retire here in a month, and a father of a Navy veteran that's going to school, and just want to learn what you all do here so we can maybe share across the vision. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you, Ron. Good to have you join us. I appreciate it. I know we had someone else come in the back. Kim, as you have food in your mouth.
veteran, a director with the Mustang and Patriots Project over in Chapel Hill. And I'm also a real estate agent with Fathom, and I love working with veterans and trying to help them.
Thank you. Now, before we jump into our panel discussions, I would like for Morgan Mansa to give us a little briefing on the Wake state of the county with housing.
Yes, absolutely. So first, what a lot of people don't know is that Veteran Services, that division is within the Housing Department. And some folks may wonder, why is Veteran Services within the Housing Department? But that is because Wake County prioritizes our veterans, and we think that we absolutely will end veterans homelessness. We think that we should work tirelessly to meet that goal. And because we think it's very important to highlight specific populations who have served, our country, who have a wealth of resources that are available if we mobilize and work together to help to end veterans from homelessness, but we are not there yet. And so we wanted to be intentional about making that connection to move the needle on that. But as it relates to housing for veterans within Wake, in terms of the point in time count, which is what HUD, requires that jurisdictions do every year to see how many folks are homeless in our community, we have 916 folks who are currently homeless in Wake. And of that, there are 89 individuals who are veterans that are homeless within Wake County. And so that's just under 10% of our homeless population who are vets, who are within your programs, who are utilizing our vouchers, who need access to benefits. And so it's very important that as we think about this conversation, that we're mindful of the continuum. We don't want to just think about sheltering individuals, temporary solutions, but what can and should we do to make sure that we are mindful of where they are, whether it is that homelessness space, whether it is that housing instability space. How do we get individuals who are interested on that road to homeownership? And so, we think that that's very important to understand where we are, understand the data that's there. If we think about production, we have a deficit in Wake County of 65,000 units of affordable housing. So that means that of the residents who live here who are cost burdened, they're spending more than 30% of their income on affordable housing every single month. If we factor that number in and we compare it to how many people are moving here every single day, currently we're at 51 individuals who move to Wake County every single day. And so when you look at those two numbers, we have a deficit of 65,000 units. What the data is showing us is that production is high, right? You look at the cranes, it's moving in the right direction. But how many of those units are set aside for affordability? And specifically, how many of those units are set aside for our veterans? And so it's not until we in this room and others who may not be here today that we're intentional about building specifically for our vets that we can help to make sure that there is that meaningful connection between those who are housing insecure and connecting them to the production that's happening in our community. So we just want to be mindful of the who. We want to be mindful of the production and the deficit that's there. And we also want to be bold in communicating to the public and communicating in terms of where our dollars go, that some of these units and some of these funds need to intentionally be set aside for veterans if we are going to make sure that they are appropriately housed in the way that they're interested, in the way that they deserve. So I don't want to monopolize, because I could definitely talk more about the data in the weeds, but as we think about solutions and what we can do, we operate a very robust grant program to invest dollars into the new construction of affordable housing. On average, we invest between $2 to $5 million into a single multifamily development for affordable housing. What we would love to see are groups like Wanda, who's on the call, Habitat, to help to make it so that there is housing set aside specifically for vets, and we would love to invest in that manner. We're also cognizant of SSVF dollars, which I know that was represented in the intros. And so those are dollars that can help make those connections almost immediately, helping folks to be secure and stabilized in housing. So that's also something that we keep in mind. VASH vouchers, right? The bedrock of rental assistance is also something that we always try to make connections for. And then Wake County also operates separate vouchers from that. And so if you don't qualify for VASH, we don't want you to slip through the cracks. And so Karla and her team are really great with helping to deploy those vouchers in the community too. And so what we see in terms of need for veterans housing, again, those immediate assistant tools, those vouchers that are immediate, or what we're hearing from shared housing is also something that we repeatedly hear in the community. Interest in building community, sustaining community is high at the list. And then also home ownership. There's that assumption that because you are a veteran in this country, that, oh, it's so easy for you to obtain a home for home ownership, but it's not. It's not. You need to make sure that, you know, you are financially secure to pay that mortgage every month. We need to make sure that there is housing that is set aside, specific to veterans if it's appropriate. There are so many other things that come into place beyond that down payment assistance piece. And so we're also working towards breaking down that stigma and figuring out what other tools are needed to help set folks up for success. And so I'm happy to see Dan on the call because, or not the call, I'm used to Zoom, y'all. But I'm so happy that Dan is represented here to talk more about those other gaps that we see from that homeownership perspective. So
Thank you so much, Morgan. One more thing before we move on to our first panel discussion. Paul Berry, I'm going to share my screen with the slides from I think, yeah, I can still, yeah, there we go. So I think it's important, as Morgan touched on the data, I think, Paul, you can provide even a broader snapshot of what you see through NC Serves for the Triangle. And we will send these out. So if you're having trouble seeing them, don't worry, you will get them in an email. But Paul, if you will highlight some of this around our housing needs, that would be great.
Yeah, thanks, Brooke. I only take a minute. This first slide is the 10 counties that comprise the Triangle. Now, predominantly Wayne, but Johnston gives us a good bit of work, and so does Durham, and some of the outliers do. But this is the overall work in the calendar year 2024 for NC Serves. So 864 clients, but a total of a little over 2,200 services. So 2.5 services per, which just reinforces that normally, you know, Morgan, to your point, when it's housing, there's always these co-occurring needs. Even what we're doing here today, but even what the Joel Fund does with the art and the social enrichment is so critical. Of note, though, you see in the upper right, 189 organizations actually sent housing requests in the Triangle. That's unprecedented compared to what it used to be. It used to just be a handful. And then if you look in the lower right, that's housing is always the number one need. It was 34% of our requests this year. It goes up about 2 percentage points every year. But what's below it is kind of, those are the other services, but those are often co-occurring needs. Those services that you can see, employment, food, benefits, income, and utilities, they co-occur about a third of the time with every housing request. Next slide, please. And this is just housing specific for the Triangle. So it's last 435 of 717 services. But that's quite a bit too. Next slide. This is the Triangle month over month, so you can see where the work is coming from, where the referrals are, and the status of those referrals. And once you get the slides, you can see it, but it kind of fluctuates over the year. We always have a big spike in the spring. I think the engagement starts more, veterans are reaching out more. Next slide. That's more specific to, go to the next one, bro. This is more specific to Wake County month over month. So that number is already like increased. We've got like 15 already. We got like 5 from Johnston County just like yesterday for housing on it. But the last slide, bro, that's just the one I want to talk about. This is specific to Wake County, but I can pull it for anything if anyone ever had questions. You know, of course, they can get my email if they don't already have it, but this is housing and shelter referrals for veterans in Wake County that had co-occurring needs. First of all, I want to say that 26% of the co-occurring needs were for women veterans, and that percentage is much lower. So it's a testament to the organizations, the shelters, the outreach, the counties, the agencies, the nonprofits. But you can see down in that bottom center-ish left, those actually show the co-occurring needs. And if anybody wanted to go really granular with me, maybe they have a program or an organization, if they want to see just female veterans, certain races, age groups, we have that information to say, are we reaching, because Morgan, in some cases, we're not reaching, these community organizations struggle to reach because there's capacity, technologies, just different things sometimes that when you look, you see holes, and those holes are communities, members of our communities, but this is why we're here, folks, so appreciate it. Thank you.
Really, thanks, Paul. Thank you for sharing that. I think all that information it explains why we're here. I mean, it's obviously a need. It's the biggest need through that we see within our organization. And so I appreciate this opportunity for us to dive deeper into it. So one of the things that we get asked a lot is, what are the options for veterans for housing? So we thought, why not have a whole discussion on that? We have 4 panelists, Wanda with Next Step Development, Dan with Habitat for Humanity, Brelyn with Volunteers of America, and Karla with Wake County. So we've already done introductions, but what I would like to do is we'll start over here. Please start off by describing the specific housing program or services that your organization offers to veterans.
So there's 2 different ways specifically that we help with veterans. The first being where my office lives. For the homeless veterans, we have the South Wilmington Street Center Veterans Program. That is a men's homeless shelter. When they come into the shelter, they will get placed under the Veteran Services Program, and they'll receive assistance with Jimmy, my social worker here, and myself. That looks like referrals to VOA, Brelyn, to HUDVASH, DJ, Jasmine. We do that. We document gather for them. We gather their DD 214s. Sometimes they don't have social securities, IDs, no birth certificates, all of those things they've lost somewhere along the way. We help them with budgeting. We help connect them with our partners like David up there with Hire Heroes, NC Works. And then we have people, social workers in our South Wilmington Street Center that also do recon for employment opportunities. We connect them to mental and physical health providers if they are not already connected. We connect them to detox centers if they choose to go that route. A lot of them come to us with substance use issues. And so we try to take to the next step and get them help for those issues. We're able to provide them with assistance getting their VA disability in order, whether they already have it and need an increase or they've never sought it out. We work one-on-one with the VSOs. They're our teammates in veteran services. So we're able to set up appointments with them, whether it be virtually or in person, and facilitate that. We can get them to the Social Security office to do any other paperwork there. We can help them get set up with Social Security, whether it be SSDI, if they need to register for Social Security in itself. We also can get them registered with VA Healthcare. We have a liaison that comes out once a week from the VA that can help facilitate that. And while he's there, he can also do HUDVASH intakes and get them on the HUDVASH list. And then twice a month, we have a VA health and wellness class that comes to the shelter where he talks about a range of topics. A lot of times he lets the veteran pick topics specific to them. And then he'll go over whatever that topic may be. And then there's so much more, but those are just some of the big hitters that we discuss. And then the other program we have is our Wake County Veterans Vouchers. So these are designed for those veterans who are not eligible for HUDVASH. Now, that's not saying we can't assist somebody that is eligible, but they are specifically designed for those who are not eligible. So if you have a dishonorable discharge or your discharge is uncharacterized, these people may have a lapse in judgment in their time in service. They're still veterans too. Whatever the reason was, they still deserve to be treated with respect. So we choose to use our vouchers to help house those individuals. Their income needs to be equal to or less than 50% of the area median income, and they must be homeless, and that could be verified in several ways. If you know anybody, you can get in touch with me after this, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. So the voucher offers payment of your initial security deposit. And then after that, it assists with rental payments. So obviously if you have zero income, it will pay your entire rent. And then if you do have income, the tenant will be responsible for 30% of their rent, and the voucher will pay the subsequent amount. They have to agree to a 12-month lease. And the veterans vouchers allow you to live in shared living. So some veterans like the shared living option, some veterans do not. It's a way to stretch dollars to allow more vouchers, which has been actually really a blessing for Wake County because we've been able to stretch our voucher dollars that way and offer assistance to more veterans. And so what that looks like, they would have his or her own room, and access to his or her own bathroom. They may have to share a bathroom, but it's still considered like their own bathroom, as long as there's not like a ton of people sharing that bathroom. So the landlord would get on board as a Wake County landlord. They would become certified to take our voucher. I oversee the voucher program. That veteran would get me as their case manager. I would follow them along, check in with them during the month, make sure everything's going well, check in with the landlord. That landlord would have direct access to me. Because a lot of times the landlord will see things that I won't see because they're in and out of there doing maintenance. So if they see something's going on with this veteran, they can tip me off. Hey, Tim has been drinking a lot lately, or Tim usually is really bubbly and conversationalist, and he's just kind of shut himself in his room. That gives me something to keep an eye on and talk to Tim about, see what's going on. So these are just some of the ways the Wake County Veterans Vouchers work and the things that it offers.
Thank you. And Morgan had mentioned the continuum of care. So when I think about, and if I'm thinking about this incorrectly, please, stop me, but we've got the homeless on the one end. So we've got Karla working with them in the shelter, and then Brelyn's working with them for temporary housing. So if you'll explain that next, we'll kind of work our way down the continuum.
Questions to the end.
Yes, if you don't mind. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. We'll leave time.
So I will follow Karla. Volunteers of America, the Durham office, we cover 18 counties, basically Wake, Durham, and the surrounding 16. Go all the way out to Davie County. We do have 4 offices in North Carolina. That's just for the Durham office. We also have one in Fayetteville, Salisbury, and Rocky Mount. So I think it's 64 counties. Janine, if I'm incorrect with that, let me know, total that we cover. But basically, from Karla or whoever sends over the referral, I get all the referrals and process them. The Durham office does around 125 to 150 referrals a month. It's a little bit higher in the winter, but that's what we're averaging right now. So once I receive it, I'll process it, assign it to a case manager, intake specialist. Then they will reach out to the veteran, screen them. There's a few different things. We also go by the AMI, to kind of determines how much assistance they're eligible for us, or if they are eligible. It's broken up into 2 different sections, prevention and rapid rehousing. Prevention is the couch surfing, facing eviction with an eviction notice or a vacate notice. We do unfortunately have to have that, as well as staying in a hotel, paying for it by themselves. So they do have to go through a prevention screening as well and score a certain amount of points depending on their county. So once and then the opposite one is rapid rehousing. That's what you think of, essentially homeless, living outside, a hotel that's paid by an agency, hospital, things, transitional living, things like that. So rapid rehousing. And then once we determine that they're eligible through the phone screening, we'll gather their documents, get them to do that, schedule an intake. We'll need their photo ID, Social Security, DD-214. They don't have a DD-214, we can run a squares, just to see if they're eligible for SSVF. Income, if they have it, we'll need an award letter, a recent one. I know Karla, y'all send everything at once, which is great because that way we can schedule the intake and we have everything. What else am I missing? Social Security cards for everyone in the household. Then once they come in for an intake, we go through all the documents. It's a lot of, ROIs and going through the program processes. About an hour, depending on, if you've been here for a while, you can probably knock it out in 40 minutes. But about an hour, they come in or we go to them if they have transportation issues, meet them at libraries, other places that are public. And then following the intake, get their HMIS number, and basically it's time to start either looking for housing or get that check request in to take care of the arrears so they don't get evicted. On the eviction side, we're talking to the landlord the whole time, kind of trying to push them off.
How's the loan too?
Maybe only eligible for 3 months. So that's why I say up to, because some of them here 9 months, and 9 months is 9 months. What was I gonna say? So then once they're in there, so prevention, take care of the evictions if needed. If not, if they're couch surfing, it's time to start looking for housing. We work with a lot of organizations, a lot of landlords, private and complexes. Depending on their barriers, we kind of can figure out which way to go. A lot of them are open to shared living, which is great because it's basically the quickest way to house them. They don't do a hard credit pull most times. They don't do a hard background check. They don't mind about evictions. So shared living, they'll let them move in before they even get the check. They'll take a promissory letter from us. So that kind of expedites it, especially if they're living outdoors. But some people don't want to live in shared living, so we start, looking for private landlords with independent housing is what we call it. So yeah, just working with them, trying to go out. We do an inspection with the landlords. I just say it's a walkthrough. It's not, I don't work for HUD. We're just doing a walkthrough, make sure there's electric and water and make sure it's what it's advertised as. So then we do our inspection, get the W-9 from the landlord and basically get it moving, just set a move-in date and start getting the veterans kind of prepped to move in. Once we find housing and they've moved in, we can assist with a mattress. We have a partnership with a mattress firm. So it could be for the veteran and the household, whoever's in there. Client incentives is basically whatever they consider what would make their house a home. Some people it's shower hooks and a shower curtain. Other people it's an Xbox or a TV. Anything, they basically give us a list and say, this is what I'm hoping for. No guarantees because the grant does have a limit. So we try to get as much as we can with them. We can also get general assistance, which is broken up into 3 different categories, basically cleaning supplies, bedding, pillows, blanket, and then what's the other one? Oh, cookware. So plates, utensils, actual cookware. Then we just follow up with them, do home visits. The case managers do a home visit every month. They're in contact with the landlord, just kind of what's going on, letting them know when the time's coming to an end, keeping the landlord and the client in the loop. During the time in the program, we try to get them to increase their income because unfortunately, when the time is up with the grant, the time is up. We can't add another month because you still don't have income. There's not really anything we can do there. Branched off of SSVF is shallow subsidies. So that can come after their 3, 6, or 9 months where they would pay 50% of their rent for up to 2 years, depending on their income. Again, that's under the same umbrella, but a different department within SSVF. We could do referrals there. Another VOA, we have GPD, which is Grant Per Diem. They're in Durham, Wake, and Orange, I believe. They can do up to $500 worth. So a lot of them, if they're over income with us or don't meet the prevention score, we'll send a referral over there just to see if they can potentially help them out with some arrears or anything that they're looking for. We do have HVRP as well as permanent supportive housing. In Durham, there's Maple Court, which they only take HUDVASH vouchers. I'm not sure how many units it is. I want to say it's like 30, but I could be wrong. 24, okay. Yeah. So that's VOA. I think I talked enough. If I miss anything.
Thank you. We will have time for questions. So, Dan, we're gonna come back to you next. Sorry. But I want Wanda to have a chance also to speak on from online to tell us about next step development.
Great, thank you. This has all been great for me as well. So I founded Next Step Development Corporation back in 2021. I retired from my corporate job with the intent of doing something with those skills that I had gained. And one of the things that I wanted to do was end homelessness. And in that process, I came up with the idea of doing tiny home communities. I had done some research, and there was also a white paper that was developed by NC State with the Partnership to End Homelessness around micro housing for veterans. So that was my textbook that I used to develop the organization. I will tell you, I have no development background. I was a sales and marketing person as well as a consultant, but I knew how to do research. And that's what I've been doing over the past 3 years, is developing the organization. We do not have a community yet, but the concept that we have is that we will have 10 to 20 tiny homes in a community, about 375 square feet, which is about the size of a studio apartment. So we're not talking about a shed in the backyard. These are homes with their own bathrooms, with their own kitchen, giving people the dignity that they need to live in smaller environments, which is a trend that's happening throughout the United States right now, is living small, not living mega. And in those communities, there will be a community building. The community building will be for the folks that we just talked about. I'm in the continuum where I would be the person you'd reach out to say, do you have a home available? We are not using strict guidelines. We're really trying to use the housing first. We want to house people, work with the case managers to try to make sure that they're successful. But we also will house people if they don't want a case manager. I just want to live, in something that I can afford off the money that I make. And that's our goal, is to have affordable living. We also will have in these communities shared areas where we can have gardens. We can have spaces where they can just commune together. In the community house, we've got a community that we've actually proposed for the city of Raleigh. They have a property at 15 Summit Avenue, which is across the street from Eliza Pool Park. It's a half acre, perfect for me. We bid 11 tiny homes in a community building on that half acre. It has come back out to rebid. It had to be rezoned for what we were trying to do. It's technical about the UL frontage did not allow for the kind of cottage court style that we had proposed. But that community that we proposed it for veterans, that we would be able to house 11 veterans in that community. We probably could put more houses, believe it or not, at 375 square feet. But one of the things I asked the architect that I'm working with to do is allow for space between the homes to give people privacy so that there's not a whole lot of noise. We don't know what their situation may be around PTSD. So I asked that there be room in between the homes, as well as inside the home, that all of them be accessible, so that we're talking walk right into the home. You have accessibility in the bathrooms. And so this was well received by the city. Of course, it's now out to rebid, so we know we will not be the the only ones bidding on that property. So those of you who have council members that are in the city of Raleigh and you like this idea, please let them know. But this will be the first one that we bid on. This has just been 3 years of us developing this community. I am looking for other properties within Wake County first. We're working with Morgan and her team and Siobhan Harris and other city agencies. We've gotten great feedback from organizations within the North Carolina area, banks. So it is me. I'm the see everything right now. So I'm learning a lot about a lot of different things, but obviously I cannot take that role forever. And so we are looking to hire individuals that will work with the case managers to do, as you all have described, is work with you to help you understand what we see, but we're not requiring that they have case managers. My hope is, and I've got some of the names from some of the folks on the line from HUD, that I would speak to them, because I've been giving some information that I possibly could not make the entire community for veterans, that I might have to open it up to other folks. The bottom line is, here's my stance on the whole thing. I want to end homelessness. So if I can't do 100%, then I'll do whatever it is to end homelessness. And that's what our goal is. And that might be individuals who are couch surfing, individuals who just say, I make $15 an hour and I can't afford $1,400. But I want a place to stay. And lastly, I'll say that we have built our model first around individuals. That means that we are not trying to do communities with kids yet. We're just doing tiny homes for individuals, 1 to 2 people in the homes. And hopefully we'll be able to find more property that is in that ½ acre to an acre is what we're looking for. I get the question a lot, why do you say that's all you want? Through my research throughout the country where people are using tiny homes right now for homelessness, many of them are using them as transitional. We're using ours. If you want to stay here till the Lord calls you home, this is where we want you to stay. What I found is they say when you get beyond 30 homes, you start to lose your community. You start to lose who the people are. It starts to get unwieldy. And then you start getting crime and other things. So that's our goal, is to keep it less than 30 homes in a community. And that's who Next Step Development Corporation is.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And moving on our continuum, Dan, you're next.
So Habitat for Humanity in Wake County believes that everybody deserves a decent place to live. We build homes, communities, and hope. And the way that we do that is we work with people who have a dream of home ownership, who might not otherwise be able to afford their own home. So we work with people, 80% AMI or less, to have a home ownership program, and we have home preservation. For home ownership, we work with people based on 3 criteria. It's the need based on the AMI. It's their ability to pay an affordable mortgage, so we cap at 30% of their income. And it's a sweat equity of 200 hours, sweat equity that they'll actually build with us in our neighborhoods. And we have financial literacy classes so that we can help people prepare to become a home buyer. We also have our restores. We have 10 restores throughout the Triangle area with Orange County and Durham County too. So people can donate and people can buy gently used goods that they might need and not otherwise be able to afford. With Habitat, it costs $240,000 to build a Habitat home right now with the cost of land and the cost of construction. So we work with community partners to help us to build with our volunteer days, with companies, and with our home buyers. So that's how we make it work. We have a veterans build program that we run. It's our season of service in the fall. And it's nice to see people who have been with us this year to come out and help. We have Military Missions in Action help. We built a deck for a veteran in Johnson County, which was really great. Morgan came and some of the commissioners from Wake County to help build, which leads into our advocacy. With so many people along the continuum, we know that our programs are specific for home ownership and helping people stay in their homes through our home preservation projects. So we think it's really important to advocate for affordable housing solutions. Coming up in February, we'll have the Habitat on the Hill, where all of the Habitat affiliates from across the country will be going to meet with lawmakers in the new Congress to tell them about what Habitat's doing, why it's important to have all of these affordable housing programs. It's such a big issue, we can't build fast enough. This year, we're building 44 homes, and we're doing that in 3 communities. Our largest from raw land is Old Pool Place, and that's in Southeast Raleigh, which will have 114 homes, a mix of single family and townhomes. The great thing is we worked with the city of Raleigh to purchase land for just $1 next to the new bus rapid transit that they're building, because affordable housing and transportation go hand in hand, because some families might not have access to transportation, especially when they're paying more of the cost burden for housing. Our next one is in Knightdale. That one's called Flowers Place, which is a small community of 17 single-family homes. They're all 2 stories built on alleys, so they'll park in the back, and it's a 5-minute walk to the elementary school. So when we go on Thursdays and Fridays to volunteer, you can see the kids walking with the parents in the backpacks. Nice. The third neighborhood we have is called Stone Creek, and that's in Clayton and Johnson County. And we're building 15 affordable homes there on larger lots for people who want to live in a more rural place. So those are the programs that we offer through our Veterans Build. We're working with other nonprofits and companies with their veterans and their employee resource groups who can invest in our programs and come out to build with us, so we can let people know that we have these programs, and we're encouraging veterans to apply because they might not know that they're eligible. So we have our own homeowner services department, and they can work with us to make sure they can't afford a house somewhere else. They can work with Habitat.
Thank you. One of my other questions on here, what are the most significant housing challenges faced by veterans? I feel like affordability and availability are 2 at the top. To our panelists, is there something else that you see that our veterans face? in housing in our area?
Well, aside from the lack of affordable housing, it's especially for those that are like need handicap accessible housing. That and the lack of housing in like areas that are affordable, but they lack the transportation infrastructure to get you there. So, cause we can find places in Zebulon and like in Nightdale or sometimes in Fuquay or up this way. But there's not a transit system to get you like to and from, so they don't have a car, so it just doesn't work out. So that's our biggest problem.
Anyone else want to add to that?
And as a developer trying to do this, that's the exact same problem that we're having is finding land, affordable land within, routes that people can get on, bus routes, walk into the grocery store, whatever, to make it accessible to them. And if there is a lot, it's premium. So, even the lot that I'm telling you about at the city of Raleigh is, it's about 0.65 acres. Only about 0.5 is buildable. It's $963,000 for a half acre. Okay, so it's like, wow, the houses cost about that much as the land. So that's our biggest challenge as a developer and as a nonprofit developer is trying to find land that is within a reasonable place. Because I don't want to go to Zebulon either. My sister lives in Zebulon, and I'm like, well, how are they going to get to the hospital? Then we'd have to provide transportation. That's a cost. So we're looking at those kinds of things as well as being near what they need to be. So even if it's near being, going to Durham, and being near the veterans, the VA hospital, but not everybody needs that. So those are the things that we're taking into account as we're trying to provide services for veterans is how do we make sure that they are near the transportation that they need to get to and independence that they want to go to the grocery store when I want to, not when you can provide a bus for me to get there or a company-owned transportation.
So we are currently, our housing will be developed in rural areas. And what we took into consideration or what happened for us, Spiritual Awakening, was that when we were purchasing property in Greenville, close to transportation, we found that septic was a major issue. And so to overcome that issue, we chose to go into rural areas. But what we did was even prior to building these houses, we made sure we contracted with transportation providers. We also have veterans who are excited and willing and looking forward to the opportunity of assisting our persons our residents who will be in the housing with any of their transportation needs. So, we are in a rural area. We're bringing something that they are excited about in Grifton, North Carolina. The town is with us. We've had meeting after meeting to talk about what we want to do for the constituents who are able to come to that area. And they are, extremely exciting. They're building housing throughout Grifton now, and the population is increasing. But we are going to be one of the solutions to affordability. We're going to take whatever's available because, we care about not just the population, but the fact that they'll go from homelessness to thriving in the communities in which they exist. So we have looked at that and made sure the availability for items such as drugstore, supermarkets, all of that is within walking distance of both of the property sites that we have obtained. So we're looking forward to and have already addressed those challenges.
Thank you. What unique barriers are you all seeing that our veterans are facing in accessing stable housing? And it's a little different of a question.
Last year, we had one of our newest home buyers. Her name was Jessie, and she was a Navy veteran. She retired from the Navy and was looking for a home in Wake County. She wanted to live here because her family was close by, but she couldn't get a mortgage. It was too expensive and it was out of her price range. So she came to Habitat. And with Habitat for Humanity, we work with third-party lenders to put mortgages together to make sure that they're capped at 30% of their income. We also have a second deferred mortgage that the families won't have to pay as long as they stay in the home, and it's payable upon sale. That's also to make sure the institutional investors don't come and take up the inventory that we have. So she became a home buyer working with Habitat in our veterans bill, which was really great because it was her path to home ownership.
I was gonna say barriers, I don't think they're unique to us as previous evictions, criminal background, credit. I mean, lack of income. It's hard to find a landlord that's willing to take a risk on someone that has $0 to their name. And kind of no plan. I mean, they might have a claim in, but it's hard to say when that's gonna come down the line. So I think those are the barriers we face the most, and I don't think we're, alone in that.
You're not, and then you've got ones that are facing like severe mental health challenges that find it hard to even meet with the landlords and talk with them. So then you've got your case managers there that kind of have to bridge the gap. And you have the landlords that just don't understand why that this person, they kind of don't want to house them because they won't meet with them and they don't get it. And then the topic nobody really likes to talk about, but then there's a lack of options for sex offenders because you have sex offenders that are getting rental assistance or on HUDVASH vouchers or whatever voucher they're on. There's just nothing for them. So they just sit in the shelter or sit there with rental assistance available to them and there's nowhere to put them.
So to keep us on track with time, I'd like to open it up to the group for questions. If you have a question and you're online, please drop it in the chat and we will make sure to get to it. Yes.
I wanted to add to the barriers because we're seeing, I don't know if everyone else is seeing this, but we're seeing an aging population when it comes to veterans. When I first started this business 10 years ago, we received a lot of referrals of veterans 40 to 50 years old. But now we're seeing like 60, 70, 80-year-old veterans. And when you get to the point where they're like 70 and above, they really can't live by themselves, but they're homeless and they don't have other options. So I just wanted to put that out there as well, that the population is aging.
That is a great point.
And they can't live on those fixed incomes.
Yeah.
It's just too expensive.
Yeah.
Without some kind of subsidies.
Yeah. I know we had a question over here. Did I make you forget it by asking you to wait?
I was really just trying to see when we could, but I guess, but my question would be, and this may be a little naive on my part, we've been doing this a long time. I wrote down, what do we think is the root problem? I mean, can we single out? I mean, I know there's age and there are all these other variables, but it's something in the military that you would think that, and I understand you're working with all veterans despite the discharge. And I understand that, even what is a veteran, when I was with the employment office, the definition of a veteran was even up for debate, but can we pinpoint a single root cause as to why we're having such a hard time? We know who the veterans are. We have a by name list in Durham, so we know who the veterans are. We know the ones that are chronic, and we know what resources are out there. Why are we still not able to end veteran homelessness? I'm sorry, that's it.
So I think there's a lot of reasons. So a lot of it has to do with lack of affordable housing. A lot of it has to do with the veterans themselves. A lot of the veterans don't contact you back. We will call and call and call, and they do not contact us back. And we're finding that a lot more the longer I've been in this, is they'll come to you for help and they'll show up 2, 3, 4 times, and then you find something and they ghost you. And that is a big problem in the veteran space. And then they'll go for months or years and then they'll pop back up somewhere. But then by that time, their information is outdated and they've lost paperwork. They've lost their social security card and stuff like that. And then you have to go through the process of getting everything again. And then the same thing happens. They ghost you. So that's a big problem also in this community. I think a lot of it too is, case managers maybe don't follow through as much as they should. I mean, there's problems there's problems all throughout, I think. I think it's not one pinpoint problem.
That would be too easy, right?
That would be way too easy, because if you, there's.
Maureen, so I'm looking for the easiest problem.
It's not an easy thing. There's failures all throughout. Not every case manager is gonna be on the ball. There's gonna be case managers that drop the ball. There's gonna be veterans that drop the ball. There's gonna be organizations that drop the ball. There's gonna be housing that's just not available. There's gonna be landlords not willing to work with criminal records or bad credit, or there's gonna be, right now we have tons of veterans and not veterans that are in wheelchairs that we just can't place them somewhere because there's just not a place that has wheelchair accessibility. And so they're just where they are because we don't have anywhere to put them.
With the Wake County voucher, so you have your own county specific voucher.
We
for
do.
veterans.
We do have county.
How long have you been using that?
How long have they
Wake
been
County.
around, Morgan? They were here before I got here.
Yeah, close to 10 years we've had them available.
Is there a waiting list?
There's not currently a waiting list.
That's just veterans in Wake County.
It's for veterans just in Wake County.
Oh, is that for veterans willing to relocate also?
They have to be in Wake County. Yes.
How long?
When they apply.
Good question.
The time it takes me to drop them off.
Question too in the back. I want to make sure she gets seen. Yes.
Yeah, I do have a question. I work on the governor's joint reentry council, which is we are trying to tackle the problem of making a smooth transition for our returning citizens. And of course, my focus is on veterans. So my question, of course, I love Karla. Thank you so much for bringing up the fact about sex offenders, the difficulty with finding housing for that as well as for other offenders coming out looking for housing. My question is, I got a homeless veteran coming out of prison. I've met with him. He tells me I am, when I walk out the door, I'm homeless. How long between when he comes and sees you at your office till he's in a place to stay? Will he have somewhere to stay that night? Or how long is it gonna take? He's not a sex offender, okay? He's just a returning citizen. What is the timeline on this process? I just,
So that
is it
depends,
individual or is
that depends on a lot of factors. So if he comes to see me at my office,
Uh-huh.
if we have an opening at the shelter, he could potentially have a roof over his head that night because he could stay at the shelter until we're able to assess what's going on. So if he comes to see me, just because he went to prison doesn't mean he's not eligible for VOA, doesn't mean he's not eligible for HUDVASH. If he's eligible for those things, we're gonna immediately put in referrals for those and get him connected to HUDVASH. Wake County vouchers are kind of a backup for those things. We will take people not on those things, but it's really rare that happens. It's gonna have to be somebody that would sit at the bottom of the HUDVASH list for years.
So my follow-up to that is, okay, so how long then, you've put in your referral for HUDVASH, how long is it gonna take for him to get that HUDVASH voucher?
Depends on his.
So it depends on it depends on his VI score.
He just walked out of prison, he didn't have anything.
So
they'll screen him.
They'll screen him and he'll still have a VI score. So the VA and HUDVASH and VOA have kind of a deal worked out. Actually, let me let Brelyn talk about their deal. That's their deal.
Can you say what that score is too, by the way?
It's a yes, but that.
Because they screen.
What does it stand for?
No, but I mean, what makes up, what is that?
So it's a series of questions they ask about it asks questions about where you slept last night, where you slept the last 2 weeks, several months, how many times you've been homeless in the last 3 years, the length of time added together that's been, access to food, all sorts of questions. And it's a lot of questions. And once you get done, it populates a score. Okay. And so based on that score, depends on where you go on the HUDVASH list.
High score means what versus a low score?
I always get it backwards.
High score is high on the list.
Yeah, high score is high on the list.
The higher the score is, the more vulnerable you are,
Yes.
essentially, because you're saying yes to all these questions and
Yes.
getting points for them.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So if they're in the shelter and they do a VI SPDAT, you're gonna answer no to a lot of them questions because you're sleeping in a shelter, so you have a roof over your head. You're getting 3 meals a day. You have access to a shower, all of these things. So it gets really kind of hairy a little bit, when you do the VI SPDAT. So, so luckily, we have a great relationship with the VA. So those lines of communication have been open and, we've been able to work with them on some cases. And so it's not always what it seems. They seem to be taking people from all areas of the HUDVASH list now, instead of just the people at the top. I don't know that to be a fact, but that's what it looks like just based on the last batch of people that got vouchers from our shelter. Some people on the call may be able to confirm that if that's happening, because there was one that got a voucher last time that, according to the month before, shouldn't have got one. So I don't know if that's a thing that the VA is doing.
I don't know if someone is.
DJ should be able to answer that.
Yeah, I put in the chat, that is correct. We are trying to mix or make the admissions a little more diverse, because our interest list or applicant pool has gotten very long over the past few months or so. And so, as you can imagine, as veterans with high chronicity, they're going to get close to the top 9 times out of 10. And so veterans who are either non-chronic or have low chronicity, they're going to stay on the pool a lot longer. And so we don't want to take away from the fact that at the end of the day, they're still just as much in need of housing and supports as the top one who may be on the interest list. So we're trying to mix it up, but at the same time, focus a lot more on the high chronically homeless veterans on the list.
Thank you.
Thanks, DJ.
Oh, that was Ron.
Who was it?
Ron.
Oh.
Vision. He's with the Vision 6 homeless.
Oh, thank
Yes.
you.
You're welcome.
I think we could, again, go on and on. But because of timing, I would like to say thank you to these panelists. Karla staying on for our next conversation. But truly, as you see, this is why we're doing this, right? These are, and I like that we can all come together in one room and ask these very specific questions about a very specific individual. I think sometimes this is how we solve problems. So thank you very much for our panelists and for sharing your information and the work that you do to help our veterans. So thank you. Okay, next up you're welcome to stay here, or you can, whatever you would like to do. I'll give you a few minutes or a few seconds, and then, as we are kind of moving around, our next conversation is gonna be around accepting housing vouchers for veterans. Oh, so we'll do a 2-minute break. So we'll come back in 2 minutes and get started on our second panel. Yeah, thanks. Thank you so much, everyone. So our next discussion is going to be about accepting housing vouchers for veterans. So this is another question that we get. Why don't more landlords accept vouchers? So I think that it's important to understand the process, to understand what being a landlord who accepts vouchers entails. And how that can, let's open that conversation and see if we can get some landlords to accept vouchers. So on this panel discussion, we have Jasmine and DJ, both with the VA homeless program. Jasmine's VA homeless program, DJ HUDVASH, and Karla again is going to sit on this panel to answer and talk through this, because I know you work with a lot of landlords too. So I would like us to the first question I have is, how do the vouchers work and what are the benefits for landlords who participate? So let me make sure we've got Jasmine and DJ ready to go.
I'm here.
Oh, it was DJ.
DJ.
Oh, DJ, it was you earlier. I'm sorry. I said it was Ron. It was you.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry. These are the VA names on here throw me off. I apologize. And Jasmine, I'm sure she will come on mic when she's ready. So
I'm here.
Oh, good. Awesome. So the first question again is, how do vouchers work and what are the benefits for landlords to participate? And I would love for, if there is a difference between county and VA, to explain the difference too. Meaning Wake County versus getting a HUDVASH voucher.
Okay.
So who would like to go first about how do vouchers work? Let's do HUDVASH. DJ.
Okay, so HUDVASH vouchers work just like Section 8 housing choice vouchers. And so as veterans, as they come to us and they get screened and they're deemed eligible for the HUDVASH program, they're placed on the applicant pool up until the time that they're admitted. And then we identify which county that they want to reside in. So of course, I think it's appropriate for us to say Wake County. And so a veteran that's identified, he or she will be required to complete an intake packet for the Wake County Housing Authority. They have to submit identifying documents such as ID, Social Security card, DD-214, etc. And also what's most important as well is income information. Of course, we do encounter some veterans that have no income. And so if that's the case, and that means the voucher will pay 100% of their rent wherever they reside. If they do have income, whether it's employment, whether it's Social Security, retirement pension, they will be required to pay 30% of that income towards the rent. And so it's important that they submit their income information because the Housing Authority is going to do a calculation to determine how much of their income they're going to pay towards their rent on a monthly basis. And so if a veteran has to pay, if their rent is $1,000 and they're required to pay $300 out of pocket, for example, then the voucher would pay the rest as a HAP payment directly into the landlord. And so once a veteran is issued a voucher, after we submit the intake packet, they have to attend a voucher briefing. They have to sign off on the voucher, and they'll also be given a rent calculation that would give them an estimate of how much they can afford for their rent. So for example, a veteran on their rent calculation sheet can say that he or she cannot find an apartment with the rent no more than, let's just say, $1,500 a month. And so between, of course, themselves, their other support systems, of course, their case manager with VA, will look and search for, or also with Jasmine as a housing specialist as well, can't forget that. We want to look for places that they can in fact afford, because the reality is if they're able to find an apartment that may fall around that number, they still have to submit what we call a request for tenancy approval, or RFTA. The unit that they're interested in has to be inspected, and it must pass before it can be deemed livable by the veteran and his or her family. And so one of the things that they also have to submit is the amount that the rent is. And so they're going to do an analysis at the housing authority to make sure that the rent is affordable, and then they'll move forward and have the unit inspected. So that's essentially how the voucher would work on the HUDVASH side. And on a yearly basis, they do have to go through a recertification process just to make sure that they still need the voucher based on their income status.
You said it was a yearly recertification?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if a landlord wants to accept one of these vouchers, what is the process to do that? Who would like to answer? Anyone?
So as far as a landlord in Wake County,
Yeah. Go ahead, DJ, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just have to make sure that the landlord is connected. They have to be registered as a landlord with Wake County Housing Authority. And so we want to make sure, more so than anything, and this is obvious, but oftentimes veterans do kind of hit this barrier where they may like a particular apartment, or they're having a conversation with a landlord and have a good relationship, but they have to accept the voucher. And that's usually what we run into a lot, where landlords just don't want to deal with the housing authority because of a stigma, because of previous experiences. And so we just want to make sure that they are enrolled with the local housing authority, so that when RFTAs are submitted, all the information is already on record, and they also have to submit banking information, because of course the HAP payments are sent electronically to their respective landlords. So just making sure that if a landlord is in fact interested in receiving Section 8 funding, that they get in contact with the local housing authority, so that they can definitely house individuals with vouchers that are issued by that particular housing authority.
So that would be the first step you would recommend?
Yes.
I was going to say, in addition, the housing authority has a department that will reach out directly to the landlord if they are not already vendorized with that particular PHA. And so they'll send them out with what they consider like a new owner's packet, where they will kind of verify that even that owner owns the property and is able to rent it out to veterans, because we do run into situations where properties are sold and veterans have to move. And so you want to make sure that you own the property, and that you can have the lights, the utilities on in your name. Still, I know those are two things that the Public Housing Authority does require that you provide documentation of. And then they have some additional paperwork that they go through as well.
And Karla, you were
just
saying,
just to get the banking information.
Say that again, Jasmine.
I said, just like as DJ was saying, to get the banking information and all of that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so Wake County's is a little different from that. The voucher process, as far as calculating rent and like paying their deposit and all that stuff, it was like I mentioned in the first panel. That's all kind of the same, 30% of the rent. But everything for the veterans vouchers for Wake County is done within Wake County government. We don't deal with housing authorities. So the veteran would have to be referred to me. The easiest way to do that is either through email, or I can take a phone call and get the veteran information. But it's easier if it comes through email, because likely you're going to have documentation on that veteran that I'm going to need. And just like HUDVASH, I'll need like their ID, their social security card, their DD-214 if you have it, their birth certificate if you have it. there's a list of documents that I need. They're gonna have to fill out, an application, for the voucher, just like they would with HUDVASH. It's just a different application. So once we have that, with all their documents and the supporting income documents, just like with HUDVASH, we send it over to our voucher team for approval. Once it gets approved, then we set up a voucher orientation. So then the veteran would come over, do their voucher orientation. Then they're gonna explain the expectations, what the housing hunt will look like. And we have within Wake County what's called the Landlord Engagement Unit. This is a group of folks that have gone out and spent hours finding landlords, whether it be private landlords or like apartment communities or public, that have come into the Wake County portfolio and have agreed to take vouchers. And we're able to use these landlords to house our veterans. I mean, as well as other Wake County clients that are looking for housing. Also, some of our veterans don't want to use these things that have been offered, so I challenge them to find a landlord. I tell them what their income limits are. We go by HUD rent reasonableness. They find me a landlord and I tell them to bring me the landlord. So then I talk to the landlord, and Wake County offers excellent incentives to become a Wake County landlord. So they offer up to like $1,000 risk mitigation, over the deposit. Like if their unit gets damaged, $750 signing bonus for every new rental home leased to the resident within the voucher program that they sign the 12-month lease, so they get $750. They get $1,000 stability renewal bonus if a resident renews their lease for 12 months or moves to another rental with that same landlord. And then the LEU can tailor their landlords based on referrals they receive from me. So if I tell them I have this client, Bob, that needs to be close to a bus line, would like to be in Garner, XYZ. They can look for housing specific landlords in that area that meet these qualifications. So we have access to that. So once we connect the landlord, the voucher is approved, the veteran will go with me and we will meet with somebody from the landlord engagement unit at the unit. They'll look at it. They'll say yes, no. Once they find one they like, we'll come back. I'll reach out to the voucher people, tell them, yes, this one's a go. They'll look at comparables in the area to make sure that it is in line with what's available rent-wise in that area. Once that's passed, they schedule an inspection. We have our own inspectors inside Wake County. They're usually pretty quick turnaround, typically within a week or a week and a half. They go out and inspect once it's approved. Voucher signings and lease signings are on Thursdays. So usually the following Thursday, they can get it scheduled and then that day they move in. So I'm kind of picky about I'm not going to lie about it. I'm kind of picky where my veterans go. I don't want them in a dump. So I'm pretty involved in where the veterans go live at. So sometimes it can take 2 weeks to find a veteran somewhere to live. Sometimes it can take 2 months. My philosophy is if I'm not going to live there, especially if it's shared housing, if me and 5 of my friends aren't going to live there, I don't expect them to live there either. So that's kind of how it works. And then just like HUDVASH, there's a yearly recertification where I'm going to ask for all the income documents and stuff again. We're going to recertify. The rent will get adjusted if it needs to be. And then we'll move along smartly from there.
Awesome. Thank you.
And so just to add, I'm sorry, Brooke, go ahead.
You're good. Go ahead, Jasmine.
I was just going to say, in addition, because I see that, I hear that Karla has definitely summed up, some of the benefits of utilizing a voucher. We all know that, the longer that someone stays homeless, the longer it's going to take for them to kind of come out of that situation. And so our landlords are pretty much the bridge to between our veterans finding housing. So some of the other benefits that she kind of mentioned were as like a landlord, you're just providing a, safe, affordable, stable dwelling for the veterans. It's a guaranteed subsidy payment from the PHAs every month. So just even depending on how much the housing authority is responsible for paying on a tenant's behalf, that's still a guaranteed payment that's going to go out every month. Being connected to a voucher program is going to open up a lot of options as far as the pool to get a unit filled quickly. And so, we're constantly getting in housing leads and floating those out to our case managers who are working with, multiple veterans at a time that are looking in multiple places. And so that is, like I said, opening the door to be able to get that unit filled quickly, depending on what the preferences are of the veteran or the family. They have access to the team when they have, working with someone with a voucher. So, with HUDVASH, there's a, OT, where there are two OTs. There's the housing specialist, myself. I'm constantly, contacting the landlords just to check in. Hey, how are you doing? How's the veteran? How's the unit? Do you have anything else available? So those go a long way when trying to not only secure landlords, but also to, retain them, just doing check-ins, just to make sure, hey, is the property still standing? Like, are you okay today? So, I do a lot lot of that.
Jasmine, what was OT? What was OT? You see?
Occupational therapist. Yeah, we have occupational
therapist. I wanted to make sure. Thank you.
I'm sorry. We have employment specialists on our team. We have a substance use specialist on our team that is connected to the veterans that have any issues with substance use. We have, oh goodness, just a plethora of connected wraparound services, support. We have our peer support specialists. How can I forget them? We have two peer support specialists that, kind of have similarly lived experiences as a lot of our veterans. And so they can step in to say, hey, I've been there, done this. This is what I've done to kind of get through this situation as you have. And I'm here to, partner with you and walk you through the process. So, there's a lot of like wraparound supports that are involved. The satisfaction of just giving a second chance, and in some cases, another chance, because, veterans have a lot of the things that Karla mentioned earlier, poor credit, prior evictions, there are legal barriers, so criminal history. Some folks are getting out of, incarceration. And so just being able to have someone who will at least open the door and say, hey, I'm willing to rent to you, means a lot to our veterans to, try to change their lives. Trying to think of anything else that is just the housing period, just overall will improve someone's quality of life. And with the VA, what we do is we have a housing first model that we follow. So we don't allow housing to be the barrier between getting additional services. So yes, we know that our veterans are going through other things, and they have mental health conditions, and they have substance use issues, and they have lack of family supports and all of those, and can't keep jobs or get jobs. And so helping them to get connected to housing first just takes one of those, barriers off of their plate. I don't have to worry about where I'm going to sleep. So I can focus on, getting clean. I can focus on finding a job. I can focus on, increasing my income, my disability, and, going to my medical appointment. So that way I have the documentation to increase my disability, rating. So all of those things. So there are so many benefits to a landlord for accepting those who have housing vouchers. But then also county to county, it would vary, based on availability and the types of incentives that are offered. Because I know that, we're talking about Wake, and Karla shared what Wake has already, but also like Orange County has similar incentives as well as, VOA for working with people. So I always try to encourage our landlords to at least try a veteran, see, do like a trial run, see how you like it. If after a year you don't want to do it, then at least you tried it. But you may like it, and you may open up additional properties if you have them to us, that we can fill them with our veterans and get our veterans off the street. So.
And we value the relationships we have with our landlords because they may house one of our veterans for a year and maybe unfortunately they pass away or maybe they move to another location. So if that relationship is positive, then obviously when they're going to have an open unit, they may want to consider housing yet another veteran. And so, we embrace open dialogue and communication, especially if there are issues and challenges that may come up that may be specific to that particular veteran. And things do come up, which is why having those conversations and having those check-ins are so important. And like I said, we want to be able to work with as many landlords as possible for as long as we have homeless veterans who have vouchers in hands who want to seek housing. I want to say another very important benefit as well as far as case management through the VA is we also have an employment specialist. As you can imagine, a lot of veterans come to us who may have a desire to work. And so we have an employment specialist that works closely with veterans who are seeking employment. They assist them with job searches, resume building, interview skills, skill building, that sort of thing. We want to do everything that we can to not only work with the veteran to get him or her housed, but to stay housed. Because unfortunately, there are things that may occur with that veteran that may result in their re-entering homelessness. Of course, we don't want to see that. It does happen, but we want to at least try to minimize that by providing as many wraparound supports and resources that either we have in-house with VA or in the community. So I wanted to definitely touch on that as well.
Yeah, I think that's, as we're all gathered here today, like I find myself thinking, if I'm out talking to someone, because I have a lot of friends in real estate and some of them have their own rental properties. I'm like, how do I convince them? So hearing these types of things are really important, but I'm curious, what are you hearing that are the challenges as to why we don't have more landlords accepting vouchers? Because so if you give us that information, then maybe when we're talking to someone, we can be like, however, you say that, but let me turn that and share this benefit instead.
So there's two main things that I hear. The one is that the real estate, the housing market is booming and they can get more money for renting at market rate and not rely on a voucher. But the biggest one I hear from landlords that accept vouchers is the vacancy loss during the move-in process. But because from the time it takes for the person to say, yes, I want to move into this unit, to when they actually move in this unit, like you got to get the inspections and all that kind of stuff. They're not getting any money for their unit during that time. And a lot of landlords express that that's kind of, they're always wanting to know how fast this can be done because they're not making any money during that time.
But are you talking like a month, 3 months?
Honestly, it depends on what entity is doing the inspecting.
Okay.
I know for the county, I had people say yes to their apartment last week and they're gonna be out and inspect tomorrow. So I know.
And then once that inspection's done, it's ready to go?
It's presuming there's nothing wrong, then it's ready to go. It'll go to the voucher people, but the voucher people only do lease signings on Thursday. So it doesn't get approved on that Wednesday and then the next day it'll go to the following Thursday. So that'll be that's another week for a landlord that they're not getting paid.
Jasmine or DJ, do you have anything to add to that?
Go ahead, DJ.
Karla definitely hit it on the head with the first reason as far as Wake County being a very booming county, very, growing rapidly, a lot of industries coming here. And so we've had landlords that have worked with veterans for years. I've been with the HUDVASH program for 9.5 years. And as Wake County has grown and as the housing market has changed, particularly around the pandemic and maybe a few months or years thereafter, a lot of landlords they saw opportunities to make more money. And the only way to do that is to say, you know what, I'm no longer going to work with Section 8. And so we've had veterans that have resided at particular locations for many years, but landlords, at the end of the day, they are business people as well. They do this to make money as well. And they saw this as an opportunity. And so as a result, many veterans had to move out of their apartment units. And now we've seen this time and time again over the past 3 or 4 years that veterans have to find other housing options. Unfortunately, some had to re-enter homelessness. So it was kind of a rocky period. But that's definitely one reason is just opportunities to make more money versus working with Section 8. I think another reason or issue rather is just the stigma that's associated with a Section 8 recipient.
That's what I was gonna touch on.
We have heard time and time again that people with Section 8 vouchers, they always tear up my apartment. They're always bringing about crime, this, that, and the third. Well, the reality is that's the case across the board, as far as I'm concerned. And unfortunately, veterans fall in that general category because they too, also, if they're in HUDVASH, are Section 8 recipients. And so we oftentimes hear that from potential landlords, or either veterans may come back and say, yeah, I had a lead, I talked to the landlord, they don't accept Section 8. And sometimes they're told pretty, harsh things from landlords. And so that's not a good feeling to have when you're told that, even though you're a veteran who's homeless, trying to get off the streets, trying to find housing. And we know that that particular veteran, is a stand-up person. They don't have any type of crime history or anything like that. So veterans unfortunately suffer as a result of that as well. So or they're like for example, if we work with a veteran that may have a duplex or may have a series of apartment units, and there may be one veteran that violated the lease numerous times and is bringing about a lot of negative attention in that particular community. And as a result, all the veterans are stigmatized. They're labeled, so to speak. And so their reputation is often unfairly, scrutinized, and they sometimes threaten to just not renew the lease and let those veterans go. So we run into a lot of that because of stigma.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely understand what DJ's saying about the Section 8, because ours are not Section 8. Because we've had hesitancy from landlords to work with us, but once they realize ours are not associated with like Raleigh Housing Authority or Wake County Housing Authority, they come on board with us because we operate totally different than they do. And they've been more willing to work with us, but I definitely hear that a lot about Section 8, which is unfortunate.
Sorry, taking notes. Okay. Does anyone in the group have a question, online, in person? Yes. Andrea.
Sorry, guys, keep asking these questions.
Do not
but,
apologize.
We're really struggling on the reentry council. One of our biggest barriers is we're trying to adopt the housing first model. And so we want to do that. Our biggest challenge is answering, what do you do to non-compliant residents? If you have a veteran come in and they won't go to their programs, because the big thing is we want to surround them, kind of like what the VA does. With the wonderful, all the programs and the support systems, and we're going to develop a peer support program. We're going to do, what do you do with a non-compliant person? How do you move into another facility? What do you do? We have to answer and be ready to answer all those questions. If someone says to you, oh, okay, that's a great idea. But what are you gonna do if that veteran says, no, I'm not gonna go to my appointments, I'm not gonna do that? Are you gonna kick them out on the street? Is there what do we do? We have to know how to answer that question as we develop this model.
I don't think it's you kicking them out on the street. I think once you identify the opportunity for him or her to change their lifestyle, they have to have buy-in. And then if they don't have buy-in, then somebody has to have that harsh conversation, like, okay, well, if you wanna continue down this path, here are the options.
Sometimes it has to stay.
And you know, you have to move on because you can't spend all your time on that one veteran because you're gonna miss 4 or 5. That's my motto. I don't waste time being able to.
I wanna know, you guys that have the vouchers though, feds and
So
Karla,
as-
what do you
As far
do?
as Wake, Antonio's right,
Yeah.
so we
Okay.
try to approach
Okay.
them in different ways. And you'll try to approach them. Like, cause you get to know these veterans kind of like they're your own family, you know, how to talk to them, how to does the motherly thing work best for them? Does lighting a fire under their butt work best for them? And fortunately I haven't had that problem yet. And Antonio's right. At some point they become responsible for their outcome. While nobody wants to kick somebody out on the street, you have to have those tough conversations with them and be like, look, when you signed up for this voucher program, because they laid it out to them in orientation and when they signed their lease. These are the requirements of this program. You agreed to do this when you signed up for this voucher. You are not complying with this program. And usually you have X amount of days to comply with this program after you've received warnings. And if you don't, then unfortunately it's on the veteran at that point. Because you can lead the horse to water all day long, but you can't make.
Thank you. I really appreciate that because that is, like I said, that's gonna be a question that is asked to us and that we have to have a reasonable answer to.
Yeah, because you can't force them.
Government, we have to be able to say, we have tried to meet this citizen more than halfway to provide services, and at some point, we do have to leave it at the citizens.
Yeah, most of the time you're not gonna have that problem. Most of the time you're not gonna have it. But you can't force somebody to do you just can't.
Thank
I'm gonna add too, I'm so happy that you brought up this question. I wholeheartedly agree with the feedback that everyone shared, and I want us to not only think about the accountability and what it means for that particular veteran, but also the relationships that you're building with the landlords and making sure that you're not severing those ties. Because when we do not hold the people that we are supporting accountable in that space, then that means that we could potentially be impacting that relationship with that landlord, which then down the line impacts us able to serve future veterans. And so we often have to remind, ourselves of that, right? Because yes, we want to extend grace when appropriate, but we also have to recognize the unintended consequences if we don't have that accountability in place.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you so much. That's really gonna help us formulate a very good argument to that. Thank you so much.
Sure. Right up here.
Yeah. Question, what does the landlord engagement unit, specifically Wake County, where are they developing those partnerships? Are they promoting your program? Are they going to for instance, I think of Raleigh Regional Association of Realtors. Are they out there with some of these groups trying to get partnerships and engage?
They go to conferences, they will cold call people, they will hear from other landlords about other landlords, they will get out there on their feet and walk around. Any way you can think of, that's how they get landlords. It's been really great for the veterans. I use them a lot. Their incentives are great, but the people that work there are just really good people. So they are very veteran friendly. A lot of the landlords are very veteran friendly. Even the ones, case managers themselves with Wake County. I have brought landlords to the LEU that I've challenged my veterans. You want to live in this place? I went and looked at it, Miss Karla, and blah, blah. I said, well, give me the landlord's number. Talk about the program. Talk about the voucher program and get me a number. And I'll call them. And talk to them about the voucher and all this, that, and the other, and they're interested, and then I can have them call over to the LEU and get them connected and get them on as a landlord. These are all just different ways that they can come over, but, usually the landlords that we have are really pretty happy because, I mean, I can't speak for other case managers, but when a veteran gets housed, especially on a voucher, they get me as their case manager. That means the veteran gets me, that means the landlord gets me. You know, I have different situations going on with different veterans and different landlords. Like in one situation I have right now, obviously not using any names, but what works best for the veteran and the landlord, because the veteran can sometimes get some type of way with the landlord, we have a group text. And if that veteran needs something from that landlord, it's asked in that group text. Full transparency, so no funny business happens. He doesn't say anything off key to that landlord, because that's what was happening. And so that it's kept it in line.
Yeah.
So it's different for different things, and landlords look for different things, and there's just all different ways to achieve getting these landlords. But I think case managers can be a good asset, and the veterans themselves can be a good asset in getting, because they know what type of place they want to live in. If you give them, you can't go over this amount of money, but if you can find somewhere for this that I haven't shown you, if you're unhappy with these places or whatever, bring me the landlord and just open that communication with the landlord. You'll be amazed what you can do yourself just by talking about the benefits of housing veterans and what it can do for them, and change their life. Because a lot of people want to do that. So.
Second question, I'm sorry, follow up. The rates that you're offering for rental payments, because you were saying some landlords feel like they can make more money. So you're offering the market rate for that particular area?
We do HUD rent reasonableness, and it just went up, and I haven't seen the 2025 rates yet.
Okay.
So I don't know those off. I know for a one bedroom for 2024, it was $14.66. Yes. But it's crazy because some landlords will live and die by a voucher because they know they're gonna get their money.
Guaranteed money. Yeah,
It's guaranteed.
Yeah, it's guaranteed money.
Yeah.
You don't have to chase it down.
Yeah. So, and like one of the things that Wake County does, like for the Section 8 thing, they were talking about tearing up their apartments. Wake County, like obviously they have the security deposit they can pull money out of, but then Wake County offers $1,000 on top of it if they tear your apartment up, which is enticing to a lot of landlords. I mean, so not only are you helping, like when I'm talking to these landlords and trying to get them on board, not only are you helping the veteran, which is great, I mean, most everybody has somewhere along the line a veteran in their family. So it feels good to them. It feels like they're doing the right thing, but you're also protecting your business. So.
Jasmine or DJ, is there anything you want to add?
Hey, so I think that Karla has pretty much covered it. I mean, we have the same similar processes that they have, as far as assisting veterans with finding the voucher, as far as the fair market rent rates. We go by HUD's income caps as far as the fair market rate. So typically when someone contacts me and I ask them, hey, how big is your unit? How much are you thinking about renting for? When they come up with something that is just, a little too high, I'm always quick to back them down and say, hey, according to HUD, this is the most that you can get. Are you willing to accept that? And so typically because they are, willing to help, they will, accept that. So yeah, it's very similar.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is such helpful information. I really appreciate it. And for me, like I've heard it a few times and I'm still trying to fully wrap my head around it. I would like to say that if you joined us today and did not register and want to receive the follow-up email, please drop your email address in the chat because Landry will send that out with everyone's contact information so that we can continue this conversation outside of this meeting.
I
And
do want to say one more thing.
yes,
For landlords, when you're working with your landlords, one of the biggest things that you can do for them as the case manager is check in and check often. Even if you do it bi-weekly, just check in with them, see how everything's going, because that gives them the warm feel good that shows them you care about your client, you care about their house, you care about them, you care about what's going on with them. That's one of the best things you can do to foster a great relationship with your
Very
landlord.
much agree. Very much agree.
And to that point, what Karla just made, many landlords want that. And so you got to meet them where they are because, they want to make sure that they can trust us. And if there's some issues that arise, that's of concern, they want to be able to have a point of contact. They may not be as successful in getting in contact with someone at the housing authority, but certainly given that we make home visits, to see the veteran at their location, if their rental office is on site, or if they just happen to be there, throughout the course of the week, it's always good to check in. So I definitely agree with that.
I appreciate this discussion. It's just so needed, and I know I plan to talk to my friends who are realtors and have rental properties and share this with them. A lot of them, they always come to me and they're like, what can we do to help? How can we help? Well, here you go. Open your doors to your veterans.
We need landlords. Absolutely.
Is there, like, this might be a really tough question to ask. Is there a number, like, if in an ideal world, we could say we need 50 more landlords or 50, is there a number like that to bring on? It's hard to.
You can never have too many landlords.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd rather just get some.
It's hard to put a number to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even if you bring on 50 landlords, that's not, it depends on what type of housing they have.
And where,
Absolutely.
a lot of things, where it is, because a lot of people will have preferences as to what they feel their housing should look like. And so there will be options available, and veterans will sometimes shy away from those options because they want what they want. But then a lot of times they'll, take what's available. So it just depends.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for this panel discussion. Can we give them a round of applause? Before we log off or stop, Troy Hirschberger is here with the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, and I would like for Troy to just speak for a second or a minute or two on the work that the Housing Finance Agency does with veterans and a lot of the partners in the room. Troy?
Thanks, Brooke. And thank you all for being both physically and virtually in the same room, because these conversations are incredibly important, and the work that you all do, it can't be understated how valuable it is. A lot of the folks in the room that we currently partner with have a good idea of some of the things that we do, whether that's in a general or specific sense. But for those that don't, and to keep things real brief and kind of high level, our agency is the State Housing Finance Agency for North Carolina. We have a simple mission that is to provide safe, affordable housing opportunities to enhance the quality of life of North Carolinians. In the manner that we do that is all through partnerships, whether that's at the local, state, or the federal level. And as I've been listening to some of the different concerns that have come up and the different ideas that have been bounced around, I think that it's safe for me to say that there's not one direction to travel. There's not one box to fit in. And personally, I think that's a good thing because, for example, with our LIHTC properties that we are able to help allocate the funding from that program, we're not able to help specifically with one group. So for example, we can't do one property that's just for veterans or one property that's just for homelessness. But we are able to target area median incomes. We are able to do these things in various different ways. And when folks come through, like one of our panel members was saying, you don't want to house somebody anywhere that you wouldn't want to be housed. That negative connotation of housing that's affordable gets dismissed when people see it. all of the NIMBYism that comes about, whether it's for supportive housing in a small number or something larger in a rental capacity, when they see it, they understand what it is that we all do. They understand all the different components that had to go through it. And they're always left saying, when can we do this again? So the good work that you all are doing, I just want to say thank you for. And for just an example, our friend that's with Habitat that's in the room, we do a lot with our community loan pool programs in order to help fund that. But we can't do any of it without you guys in the room and in the space. So we really appreciate all the partnerships that are out there. And I just wanted to say, I'll put my email in the chat. And if I can be a resource to any or all of you on specific things or general questions, we want to make sure that we're able to do that.
Thanks, Troy. Does anyone have any announcements that they would like to make or event that you would like to share with the group? Paul?
It's very new, but we're partnering, we got a grant through Truist Bank, this program called True Homes. And we're gonna start it in Mecklenburg County, but it's gonna come here next. And it's a $10,000 down payment for qualified veterans for that are first-time homeowners. So it's coming, it's pot of money, take this much out to run the overhead, and then we run it until it runs out. So it'll probably run into early 26. But the details are coming. I don't have quite enough. That's what I was just doing. Could I send it? And it's just, I told Karla, it's not quite ready for prime time just yet. There's a lot of legalese in there, you can imagine. So we're still working out all those qualification processes. So we'll share it with this group once it comes out.
Fantastic.
Yes. I would just like to plug and ask all of the wonderful organizations here as you're dispersing your programs, please have a robust financial literacy education program that walks them through before, during, and after the process to make sure they're able to stay there. If you don't have them, if I can't help you personally, there are lots of resources out there that can help you set up those programs if you don't. So please make sure to have those in place. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your time today. I hope this was beneficial. Be on the lookout for a short little survey so we can use it to improve for the next one. But I truly, truly appreciate everyone's time and willingness to participate in this stuff. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Lunch was 5 stars. Great. You got us.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the day. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.